Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Hazel here with a new video for you. In this video, we'll dive into the 7 Deadly Sins movie, Cursed by Light, from the 7 Deadly Sins anime. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying, just sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So let's get started. Today, we will review the 7 Deadly Sins movie, Cursed by Light, giving an analysis and a rating at the end. So if you are excited about this, strap yourselves in, because here we go. At the start, we get a nice opening with the Sins, each repeating a prior quote that defined them, bringing you into the Sins mood immediately. There's also a line with Elizabeth, and then the movie begins. Next, we see the Demon Realm, and slowly we see two mysterious figures appear, one with fairy-like wings, and the other on some bird monster. They head down their path and destroy a village of the Demon Clan and are vastly superior to the demons they are fighting. After losing for a bit, the demons try to release a giant white demon monster, but the flying assailant kills it with a single hit, and the bird creature releases some mist, kinda like miasma, killing all but a single demon. The strangers let this single injured demon carry the message of their arrival and mission to the surface to lure the 7 deadly sins into the demon realm. Meanwhile, on Earth, Elizabeth and Meliodas are approaching the waterfall where they made some fond memories in a prior lifetime. Elizabeth had accidentally run a carriage off into the water basin, and Meliodas fished her out, and some fun times ensued. After, they tried to get out of the water and found a cave hidden behind the waterfall, where they dried off and warmed up. It has been a whole 6 months since the events of the war against the Demon King ended, and Leonis finally seemed peaceful for the time being. Meliodas is seen promising Bartram to take over as king, but only after he and Elizabeth take a honeymoon vacation. With Elizabeth's help, the king can do little but accept his proposal, and they set off. Back at the waterfall, Meliodas reminisces about his messed up family and is worried about having his own new family. Elizabeth comforts him and even points out that he can still patch things up with Zeldris. As they talked, they felt a surge of magic from the cave behind the waterfall base and headed to investigate. To their surprise, it happens to be Zeldris and his girlfriend Gelda, who are enjoying the peace and calm and spending time together, much like themselves. Meliodas immediately sets out to surprise and prank his brother, spooking him as he is holding a fish. Zeldris gets mad instantly at Meliodas' presence, but after Meliodas and Zeldris have a crack at each other, they are both silenced by Gelda, who gets on Zeldris for being so hostile. After that, they all share a moment of peace before all sensing another spike of magic. But this one feels like someone dying. Following the trail of magic leads them to the demon who was left alive from the beginning, bleeding out on the forest floor. He tells the brothers about the incident in the demon realm, but can no longer keep himself alive, and he dies thereafter. Both Meliodas and Zeldris look worried at the news, and we cut there for the intro. The intro for this movie lays out the rough events of the end of the Holy War, primarily that it is over, and then briefly covers who each of the sins are. After the title sequence, we see Fairy King Forest. Gerhard and Gother are waiting for Diane to get ready for some unknown event, and then we switch to King and Bon, where the former is stressing to the latter about his wedding being what Diane was preparing for. Elaine soothes the frantic king by letting him know that Diane does not need a perfect king, just the king she has. Next, Elaine kisses Bon and we shift scenes again. We see Diane looking lovely for the wedding, and the humans, fairies, and giants all gather for the wedding ceremony. Diane expresses her desire for the marriage not to feel so formal and laments that Meliodas and Elizabeth could not make it. After, we see Leonis and Bartram talking to his other daughters about the upcoming wedding involving Elizabeth. Bartram briefly expresses his worry that neither of them will return, but it is not a worry that lasts long. Back with Meliodas and Zeldris, we see them arguing about whether Meliodas gets to go to the demon realm, and they decide by way of rock, paper, scissors. Meliodas wins, and the four head off together. The wedding is proceeding as planned with Diane and the other sins, and Hendrickson is presiding. It is time for the ceremonial kiss, and Diane is embarrassed by it for a moment before they do it, and the crowd cheers, and Bon and Elaine decide that they do not want a wedding. However, they all miss that the rest of the sins can't be there, between Meliodas and Elizabeth being on their honeymoon and Escanor's sacrifice. In the demon realm, we see Hawks chase and kill a small demon, and he and Wild then eat and talk about the human world. Eventually, Hawk convinces Wild to try some scraps, and to find some they need to travel back to Earth. Next, we cut back to the Sins, and King and Diane briefly discuss the second Fairy King when interrupted by a rumbling in the distance. In Leonis, Jericho and Beulah are walking along, talking about Elizabeth's wedding, and after an adorable moment with a couple kids, they hear the world suddenly start being attacked. On the outside of the wall, we see giants and fairies coming to assault the capital, but they all have red, glowing eyes. They only speak to say they are taking revenge on the Sins and those that helped them for ending the Holy War. They appear to be attacking the whole town, but are actually focusing on the Holy Knights, actively ignoring the civilians. The knights conclude that these attackers must be controlled, and they try their hardest not to kill them as they fight to keep them away while looking for a way to restore them. We then see Arthur training with Merlin for a moment, far off in Camelot. His targets? More of the possessed giants and fairies. Next, we cut back to the brothers' party, descending into the demon realm. They take a brief stop to rest, and Meliodas tricks Zeldris into eating some fish he prepared. Zeldris shoves a bit into Meliodas' mouth after he tastes it, and they all have a moment before continuing. Zeldris swears never to eat food Meliodas prepares again, and Meliodas responds by pointing out that Zeldris always plays rock in rock, paper, scissors. Elizabeth and Gelder are happy to have the four of them spending time together, and with that, they arrive in the demon realm. However, something is wrong with it, as a thick miasma that usually permeates the air is gone, leaving the place looking like a sunny desert wasteland. Then, behind them, the two attackers from before appear, boasting about being there to kill the Sins and revealing that they are the ones behind the attacks happening on Earth. Meliodas identifies them as Dahlia, the second fairy king, and Dubs, the master craftsman of the giants, creator of weapons such as the Sins' sacred treasures. Zeldris mocks them for coming alone, and after an initial attack on Elizabeth, the fight begins, with Zeldris pitted against Dahlia and Meliodas against Dubs. Dubs begins the battle by using the bird he is riding to attack Meliodas while also playing a mysterious flute. Meliodas uses his sacred treasure ability, but his clones turn on him, striking and holding him still. Zeldris manages to thwart Dahlia's initial attacks, but they realize something when he and Gelda trap him in a combo move. His specialty is actually in physical combat, and he then overpowers Zeldris quickly, sending him flying. Meliodas and Elizabeth are trapped in a staff that Dubs made, imprisoning them in a white void. After all that, the duo laugh as they talk about having bested the sons of the Demon King so quickly, and they head back somewhere. Meanwhile, on Earth, we now see the attack on the fairy forest. The Sins are fighting them, and all the residents in the area are trying to talk to them, but they do not respond to anyone, and nobody among the fighters in the Holy War recognizes these giants or fairies. Hauser and his friends have a brief adventure fighting and running from the possessed creatures before being launched from the forest to the capital city of Leonis from a single attack, and they then help out over there. They pick up the weapons dropped by the giants they landed on and remark that they seem to sap more power than expected. They try to hold back against the enemies, but accidentally blow the attackers away from themselves. King and Diana are readying up to fight in the forest before King and Gotha realize something and execute a combo, trying to free the possessed attackers. It works, but they immediately turn back to being possessed soon after. The Sins realize that it might be the weapons keeping them in prison, so they gather them all with Bond's ability. Then, all the attackers begin to come back, and the Sins get enough information to pin the events on Dahlia and Dubs. Armed with this information, the Sins head to Leonis as quickly as possible to stop the attacks. In Leonis, the knights fight against the invading force, with Grimoire providing a shield to protect the inner city. The attackers break the wall, but at that moment, the Sins show up and free the attackers, restoring them as well. Over at the hideout of the evil duo, they discuss how they should go up to Earth to make sure the Sins do not find a way to defeat their armies sent up to kill them. A demon that looks like a vampire lady tries to poison Dahlia's drink, but fails miserably, and she is killed. The duo are laughing, stating that they do not do this without help and that they have powerful friends. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. With the services Skillshare provides, you can get access to many in-depth tutorial videos on basically anything you want to learn. Each class that they have is bound to help you with your creative endeavors. Do you want to learn how to make videos like this one? Do you want to learn how to write scripts or edit audio? Skillshare has you covered, and with our link, you can have a 14-day free trial. So what are you waiting for? Click the link now and get 14 days worth of classes free. Link in the description below. Cut to Mael in the Celestial Realm, who is using some healing magic to grow a flower when he is approached by the main body of the Goddess clan. They urge Mael to help them with their new mission, after he reiterates that they are not to fight with the Demon Clan anymore, since the Holy War is over. After their request, we shift to Zeldris, who wakes up being held by Gelda. She tells him that they are safe, and she was able to save him with the help of the surviving demons. Zeldris then mentions that the duo of old legends could not have removed the miasma on their own and must have had a powerful support. Then, he tells the demons that they need to rescue Meliodas in order to stop Dahlia and Dubs. They are initially against the idea of doing what Zeldris asks of them, but after he explains the true intentions of the Demon King, they decide to rally behind him and support him and Meliodas. Then, we go to Meliodas and Elizabeth, trapped in the staff. Meliodas makes a simple attempt to break out of the void. then gives up and lays in Elizabeth's lap. Meliodas is unsure if they will see help in escaping, but Elizabeth tells him to trust in Zeldris so that Zeldris can trust him in return. Finally, they kiss just as Zeldris busts through the void, shattering it and revealing the outside corridor. Zeldris, in typical fashion, yells at Meliodas for lounging around in a time like this, and Meliodas proceeds to ask how he managed to free them. Zeldris points out that since Dubs made his sacred treasure, it stands to reason he made the staff and his current weapons impervious to his other creations. Zeldris, on the other hand, is wielding a blade not made by Dubs, making it an effective tool in his strong hands at dealing with Dubs. Meliodas asks how they managed to sneak the staff away from the two, and in response, we see the hidden demons all fly up from the ground, going to attack Dolly and Dubs, and shouting about the one king that they believe in. We see Dubs wielding a shield with a face on it and a scythe that resembles Maui's hook during the fight. The demons aren't much of a challenge for the duo, but fight valiantly anyway. Before the two can eradicate the demons, Meliodas and Zeldris arrive and stop their attacks, and the fight resumes between them. It seems at first like they are going for the same matchups that they lost to initially, but at the last second, they switch. Now, Meliodas confronts Dahlia while Zeldris deals with Dubs. Zeldris thanks the demons for their sacrifices and risks, and they reaffirm that they will follow the new Demon King. Dahlia and Dubs are unsure why Meliodas is trying to stop them from killing the demons, and Meliodas repeats that the Holy War is over and the fighting needs to stop. Meliodas blocks a blow from Dahlia with one hand, and then lets him throw numerous punches and kicks at him. Meanwhile, Zeldris quickly destroys both Dubs' scythe and his shield. Meliodas finally counterattacks against Dahlia and knocks him into the dirt with a single hit, and Zeldris smashes Dubs against the ground nearby. Meliodas gets in one last hit and begins mocking Dahlia, but Zeldris points out that he's already unconscious. Then, the two defeated enemies float up and turn to glowing dust before disappearing. All the fighting has stopped on the surface, and Bartram thanks the Sins again, apologizing for the wedding interruption. They respond by saying that they could have not done it with this going on. King confirms that someone higher than Dahlia and Dubs must have been pulling the strings, and they all try to figure out who it could be. Then, as they wondered, they began to see lots of flying silhouettes on the horizon. It appears to be a horde of Goddess Clan chasing a lone figure. Mael continuously dodges the attacks from the angelic Goddess Clan race as he travels toward Leonis. He is almost killed but is saved at the last moment by King, and they learn what has happened. The supreme deity is ultimately responsible for everything that has happened so far, and she shows up behind her people to talk to the Sins directly. She has been able to see all that has transpired so far through Elizabeth's eyes and comes clean about being the one responsible for Dahlia and Dubs and their current fight against the Goddess Clan. She states that the Holy War must not end under any circumstances and that it is more important than them killing the Demon King. Bond challenges her to a fight, and after some combat, she sends down a God Thunder, nearly killing everyone there, Goddess Clan and humans alike. The Sins were able to shrug off the attack, but the other humans in Goddess Clan were almost killed by it. Bond had disappeared from the side of the Sins, striking an impressive blow from above. However, he was unsuccessful, and King and Gother executed their team attack against her. Gother managed to stun the Supreme Deity for long enough for Diane to hit her with a maelstrom of rocks, but afterwards, the holes all healed up. The Sins realized that she is the opposite of the Demon King, and magic is the only way to hurt her. After this, King has Sunflower hit her with a massive beam, yet she redirects the magic back into a God Thunder. However, Bond collects it into his weapon, and he dishes it back to her in his physical strikes. She mocks him for doing so, and he tries to annoy her. As Bond and the Sins fight, they speak about how they will not give up and let Escanor die for nothing. However, the Supreme Deity is unfazed and prepares for a more massive attack. The Sins see no way to stop this attack, but they get ready to try anyway. As they brace for the attack, Meliodas swoops in as she fires, hitting a frame-perfect full counter right back into her face. Elizabeth shows up as well, beginning to heal the injured on the battlefield below. Diane, King, and Meliodas share a moment about the two of them missing Diane's wedding, but she is reminded that they did not give a clear enough date for it. The Supreme Deity then focuses on Meliodas, insulting him and raging about his deeds, before she is restrained by demonic magic. As she tries to figure out how, Zeldris appears, revealing that it was his magic. The brothers then team up to combat the Supreme Deity, and during the fight, they promise each other to share a drink. During the battle, Supreme Deity tries to reprimand Elizabeth for telling her to leave forever, but Elizabeth stands her ground. She proclaims that she was never a mother to her, and that she even cursed her. As the final blows are delivered in sync, the gods start ranting about how the Sins and humans have no idea what awaits them, in the coming chaos before fading away entirely. The battle is over, and Meliodas and Zeldris collapse near each other and share a fist bump as the survivors cheer. We see a cutaway to Merlin watching the end of the fight on a magic ball. She comments that the age of gods is over and then disappears. At the castle, they all celebrate, and Meliodas and Elizabeth get married. Meliodas playfully mocks Bartram at the coronation, and as a result, he slams a crown onto Meliodas' head, and it drops to cover his mouth. Later on, Elizabeth looks for Meliodas and finds him on the balcony chatting with Zeldris. Meliodas was teasing Zeldris with getting married, to which he got embarrassed. He then invites Meliodas back to the demon realm, but only for construction help, of course. Zeldris takes his leave, and the credits roll. After them, we see a scene like the earlier one with Merlin, but she is talking to Arthur this time. She tells him that the age of chaos and humans is coming now, and it cuts there. Overall, it was a pretty decent movie with good tie-ins to the series and letting you know where it takes place in the timeline. It had accurate portrayals of the characters, decent fighting scenes, and funny dialogue. Also, many references to Escanor. May he rest in pride. Overall, I rank the movie at 7 commandments out of 10. This movie definitely feels at home with the rest of the 7 Deadly Sins catalog and is one worth watching. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials have got you covered. Our We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I'd like to extend you an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members from 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up by whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it for us from today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.